Workday celebrates Global Accessibility Awareness Day with Jennison Asuncion, co-founder of GAAD.
Hello workmates, my name is Mary Rumley. I'm Director of Accessibility Services at Workday, and I'm here at Workday's headquarters in Pleasanton, California with Jennison Asuncion. He is the co-founder of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which is a day to get everybody talking, thinking and learning about digital access and inclusion, and the more than 1 billion people worldwide with disabilities. Jennison is a pioneer for digital accessibility and has played a big role in advocating for accessibility standards for many big companies and public sectors, and as such has garnered Jennison international recognition. Jennison, thank you for being with us here today.
Thanks for the invitation.
So I thought it would be fun to start with a little icebreaker, and perhaps we can talk food. What's your favorite cuisine?
Oh, if you ever want to bribe me or get me to do something, put some Lebanese shawarma and garlic potatoes in front of me, or anything Mediterranean for that matter.
That sounds actually delicious, and my stomach is already rumbling at that. Well, let's start with one of the questions about accessibility, and perhaps we can start with, why did you choose accessibility as a career?
It was really a journey for me to figure out that this is what I wanted to do. I'd always been interested in technology and how people with disabilities use it. I mean, I'm a benefactor of it. And so my friends were just asking me like why I wasn't considering doing accessibility as a job. And part of it was because I didn't think I was qualified. I didn't have a degree in engineering or anything like that. But fast forward, I ended up listening to some advice and threw my hat in the ring and miserably went through interviews where they thought I was a QA person and I didn't know my way through all the QA testing questions. But as luck would have it, my resume made it to the desk of the manager of the IT accessibility team at the Royal Bank of Canada in Toronto, and the rest is history.
Excellent. And now today you work for LinkedIn.
I do.
And you have a very interesting title there. Can you tell us about that?
It's a fairly lengthy title, Head of Accessibility Engineering Evangelism. And what that really means is I manage the team of internal accessibility SMEs, subject matter experts. Primarily, we focus on supporting our engineers and designers through office hours, Slack channels, as well as through monthly training.
And I know somewhere along the line, you decided to set up GAAD, Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be?
Back in 2011, I was at home on a Saturday night, which was uncharacteristic for me, back in Toronto. I came upon a tweet that said something to the effect of, accessibility needs to go mainstream now. I activated the link, and it was a blog post by someone who I didn't know at the time, Joe Devon, who is the co-founder of GAAD. He was a developer at the time back in Los Angeles, and he was just bemoaning the fact that developers don't know a thing about accessibility. They don't know that people like who are blind use screen readers and things like that. And he said, like, we need a day, a global day where people are just like learning about this stuff. I was like, wow, this is interesting considering my own interest in the thing. So I put a note on his blog and said, hey, if you're really serious about doing this, let's chat. And the rest, as they say, is history.
And then I know that Workday is a founding sponsor of the GAAD Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about the GAAD Foundation itself and what that serves?
2021 was our 10th anniversary, or our 10th GAAD. And Joe and I were thinking of something to do. We said, well, why don't we start a foundation? Because we kept hearing from people like, GAAD needs to be more than just a day. So we started a foundation. And the mission is really to disrupt the culture of technology and digital product development so that accessibility is a core requirement. What we did is we folded GAAD itself into the foundation. We have a couple of other programs that I'll mention real quick. One of them is called the GAAD Pledge, where we invite open source projects. What the pledge does is it asks these projects to, first of all, create accessibility documentation, make sure your own examples are accessible, make sure your actual widgets are accessible so that engineers and designers who want to adopt these open source projects actually have a place to start. One that we just announced in December of last year is the GAAD Speakers Fund. And this is our way of trying to increase the conversation between everyday tech professionals and the accessibility and disability community. We provide up to $3,000 in funding for someone to present at accessibility conference, for example, CSUN, Assistive Technology Conference, or the Nobility Access U. On the flip side, it provides funding for someone who works in digital accessibility or a person with a disability to present at a mainstream event like South by Southwest. So we want to take some of the financial burden out of the way, and we want to increase the representation of both groups at each other's events. So by doing that, we're increasing the conversation. And something that we just are rolling out now is something called the GAADs, which is an awards celebration that we will launch here in San Francisco this November. And essentially, people will be nominating projects that have been developed in the last 2 years that basically live the mission and vision of the GAAD Foundation. So people can learn more about the foundation by going to GAAD, GAAD.foundation.
Excellent. I love the idea of the GAADs. Look forward to that. So you mentioned that obviously the GAAD Foundation and organization has been going since 2011. How has the state of digital accessibility changed since that time?
So GAAD's been going since 2012, and the foundation's been going since 2021.
Got it.
Now, in terms of how things have changed since, the amount of gaming companies who have embraced accessibilities, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years.
A screenshot of an article titled, Sony Interactive Entertainment Celebrates Global Accessibility Awareness Day appears.
It's amazing to see how many gaming studios make announcements on GAAD, which is the third Thursday of May.
A screenshot of an article titled, Xbox Celebrates the Gaming and Disability Community for Global Accessibility Awareness Day appears.
About new games that they're publishing that have accessibility features. I know Microsoft a number of years ago announced their accessible game control on the day of GAAD. Gaming is at the core, it's all about like just getting involved socially and having fun. And there are people with disabilities who are isolated because they can't leave the house. And so to me, having accessible gaming creates this equal playing field.
A screenshot of an article titled, 8 Accessible Games to Play on Global Accessibility Awareness Day appears.
Where people with disabilities don't have to identify themselves.
Yep.
And they're having fun and they're socializing and they're on the same level playing field. I mean, we're Global Accessibility Awareness Day with a capital G. To me, that's really exciting because we want to get the word out there. And so we know that we've had stuff done in Cantonese and in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and some other languages, which is amazing. To me, that puts the capital G in global and it makes sure that we're really reaching the full breadth of tech professionals in the languages that they're comfortable speaking in.
Here at Workday, we celebrate GAAD, and we have over the years expanded it to be beyond the day. So now we celebrate it for the week.
Nice.
So we have a number of different events throughout the week that we celebrate, and
That's
we have internal speakers and external speakers. And we, of course, are a global company, so we like to make sure that we're having talks at all times of the day during that week.
We created that day as a platform, and people certainly do a lot on the day, but like here at Workday, we've heard companies making it a week. There's some companies who've made it a full month. Joe and I just, at this point, are always wowed every year at how people just have taken a hold of the day and made it their own.
So maybe changing gears a little bit and talk about accessibility within our corporations. What are some of the tips and tricks that you have to raise the priority and awareness of accessibility with our senior leaders in companies so that we're prioritizing it appropriately?
It might be obvious, but it's worth stating is you need to customize the message. When you're talking to when I'm talking to engineers, I talk to them about the importance of accessibility as being part of their craft as an engineer. And the fact that if they're shipping inaccessible code, they're adding to tech debt. So I'm speaking in the language that they understand versus when I'm talking to a leader, you talk about the mission and the vision of the organization. For many teams who are doing this for the first time, accessibility introduces a lot of change to the way they're doing things. So part of it is just helping them understand. And part of it is also understanding the pressures they're under and how this change, how we're asking them to rethink the way they're doing things is going to impact the way they have been doing things. But also to appreciate that they're under a great deal of pressure, pushing out products or features. As a former project manager, a recovering project manager, I get it. And so I try to help them understand that, look, I get it. I don't expect everything to be accessible day one. As you said, Mary, it's a journey. And that might mean having to negotiate getting the most important things done now, and then in fast follows, doing the rest of it, maybe releasing the next set of changes 2 weeks later. And I know for some accessibility purists that's not the way that they would operate. They would want everything to be accessible day one. And sure, like as someone with a disability, I would love to be able to go to a website that's been launched and know that it's going to be fully accessible. But that's just not the reality. And unless you are in there getting your hands dirty, you don't know.
So Jennison, where does accessibility sit in the broader DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation for you?
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't sit broadly enough. It seems to be forgotten about. And what I mean by that is a lot of leaders talk about wanting to hire and retain folks with disabilities, but what they might be missing is like how accessible their workplaces are. My purpose is I'm thinking digitally. So the tools, like even from a recruiting perspective, are the tools for recruiting and onboarding accessible? Going beyond that to the tools that are required to be productive in a particular role. I don't think that accessibility is talked about enough. It should be part and parcel of the conversation when it comes to disability and diversity.
Jennison, it's been a great pleasure having you here with us today at Workday. Thank you for joining us.
This has been fun. Thank you.
If you would like to learn more about Global Accessibility Awareness Day, please visit accessibility.day for more information. We look forward to celebrating GAAD with you this year.